I want you to close your eyes for just a second and really picture the scene. Drop yourself right into the middle of a massive, cavernous, dimly lit alien execution chamber. You've got thousands of spectators up on these elevated platforms, military officers, scientists, politicians. The energy in the room is insanely heavy. It's tense, and every single pair of eyes is glued to the center floor. Down there, you have a human prisoner, arms heavily restrained by chains, being marched toward his death by alien guards. Now, the Coalition had captured thousands of humans during this brutal galactic war, and almost all of them reacted exactly the way you'd expect, with fear, anger, just total desperation. But not this guy. This human is doing the unthinkable. He's looking right up at his captors, and he is smiling. And let me tell you, that simple, quiet expression is deeply, deeply unsettling to everyone in that room.
So why is he smiling? Well, it all boils down to one chilling, incredibly calculated response he gave to his interrogators. He told them, because eventually you stop noticing the small problems. It is just a terrifyingly simple piece of logic. And today, we're going to explore exactly how this single, patient thought allowed one chained prisoner to bring an entire, highly advanced galactic empire straight to its knees.
Now, to understand how this even happened, we have to look at who this prisoner actually was. Or actually, scratch that. We need to look at who he wasn't. He wasn't a soldier. I mean, when you think of a prisoner capable of literally crippling an empire, you naturally picture some highly trained special operative, right? A master of combat, someone the Coalition would immediately flag as a massive threat. But the Coalition? They looked at this guy and thought he was completely 100% harmless.
And he wasn't a politician either. He wasn't some famous galactic leader or a brilliant public speaker who was going to incite a massive, violent rebellion from inside the prison walls. He offered absolutely zero strategic value to his captors. He was just a quiet, cooperative human who got assigned to a labor station to do basic, simple repair work on Coalition warships after a huge battle. He had no access to weapons whatsoever.
Okay, let's dive into this because this is where the twist hits. He was an engineer. This wasn't your traditional galactic war hero. This was just a quiet worker operating way down deep inside the maintenance sectors. He was always calm, always did what he was told, and always had that slight smile while he worked. And somehow, this single human worker, armed with literally nothing but a wrench and a deep understanding of how systems fit together, had nearly collapsed an entire Coalition fleet. So how on earth did he pull that off?
Just listen to how incredibly methodical this sabotage was. Month 1, the humans get assigned to their labor stations. Totally innocuous, right? Business as usual. But then, by month 2, Coalition ships just start failing. And we aren't talking about predictable patterns here. It is completely random. Engines are literally exploding mid-flight. Weapons systems are suddenly overheating out of nowhere. Navigation computers start drifting off course, and life support fails at the absolute worst possible moments. At first, the Coalition assumes it's just manufacturing errors, or maybe sheer incompetence. It takes them 3 full months to finally discover the hidden modifications happening right under their noses. They completely miss this invisible sabotage.
And honestly, this highlights the sheer genius of what he was doing. He didn't build a bomb, he didn't dramatically slash fuel lines, he simply introduced tiny, microscopic probabilities of failure. He'd delay a single electronic signal over here. He'd make one tiny component run just a fraction of a degree too hot over there. He'd misalign a navigational sensor by a single millimeter. The most terrifying part of this whole strategy? Technically, these systems were behaving exactly as designed. They were just slightly altered. On their own, these issues meant absolutely nothing. But collectively, they were a catastrophe waiting to happen. He spent months quietly turning the Coalition's own advanced technology against itself.
Which snaps us right back to the tension in that execution chamber. The High Executor, who basically embodies the Coalition's rigid, hyper-traditional military mindset, steps forward. He glares at the human and spits out, "You infiltrated military systems using deception and dishonor." You can literally feel the psychological duel happening in the room. The Executor's deeply offended by this. To him, war is about overwhelming force, it's about direct combat, it's about honor. To him, the engineer's invisible methods are just an act of sheer cowardice.
But the human, he actually laughs softly at that. And then he delivers this absolute gut punch of a rebuttal. He says, "You invaded our worlds. You bombed our cities. You killed children." He pauses for a second, looking up slowly at the millions of people watching this broadcast live across the galaxy. "And now you're upset because I broke your engines." Wow. The entire chamber goes completely, deathly quiet. Nobody says a word. Because suddenly, that incredibly uncomfortable, undeniable logic just completely silences the room.
The executor is scrambling to regain control of the narrative here, so he snaps back, "Humanity lost this war." But the engineer just smiles that same smile. "No," he replies quietly, "you just haven't realized what kind of war this is yet." And let me tell you, something about the way he delivers that line makes unease spread through that room like wildfire. The executor, clearly wanting to end this right then and there, signals the guards. You hear the energy restraints tighten up. The massive execution systems begin to power on, just humming with lethal voltage.
And then every single light in the chamber goes dark. Complete blackout. Instant, absolute panic erupts in the pitch black. Emergency alarms start screaming across the entire station. You've got massive power fluctuations spreading through every system simultaneously. People are shouting, screaming, "What's happening?" The backup generators kick on for maybe a split second and then they fail entirely. The whole massive station shakes violently. And through all of this chaos, standing perfectly still in the dead of the dark, the human is just smiling.
Slowly, these weak, flickering emergency red lights come back online. The station AI cold reads a critical systems failure. The entire chamber just freezes. And then, a message flashes across every single screen in the room. Take a full second to let this sink in. Authorized by the Human Maintenance Division. The executor turns toward the human in absolute disbelief, sheer horror on his face, and asks, "You did this?" And the engineer? He just shrugs and says, "You gave humans access to infrastructure."
The scale of what is happening right now is just staggering. We are talking about simultaneous, catastrophic failures cascading across all of coalition space. Think about it. Power grids, collapsing. Massive naval shipyards, malfunctioning. Planetary defense systems, just shutting down completely. Entire military sectors failing at the exact same moment. And remember, these are not external attacks from some hidden human armada. These are internal maintenance issues, triggered by human engineers, human technicians, human workers, patient, waiting human prisoners. So here is the absolutely crucial point. The coalition unknowingly handed the keys to their civilization over to the very people they conquered. The executor stares at the engineer and desperately asks, "How long?" The human replies, "Since the first day you captured us." He explains that sure, militarily, humanity surrendered, but then, as the station is literally groaning and metal is screaming all around them, the human drops the line that reveals the fatal, systemic flaw in this entire alien empire. You made the mistake every empire makes. You thought keeping humans alive made us harmless? This is the terrifying truth the coalition is finally grasping in their very last moments. The executor physically steps backward, truly afraid for the very first time, because it hits him. Humans weren't the strongest species out there. We weren't the fastest or even the smartest. But humanity's true superpower is an unbelievable capacity to endure, to adapt, to just wait in the shadows, to meticulously learn how every single thing works from the inside out until the exact perfect moment when they can destroy it.
It all comes down to this really chilling comparison. On one side, you have the soldier, an immediate threat, a visible, kinetic force. That is exactly what empires train to fight against. But on the other side, you have the engineer. They represent unseen patience and complete systemic ruin. The engineer looks around the collapsing execution chamber, smiles one last time, and whispers, "Now it's too late." Years later, the coalition actually added a permanent military doctrine: never allow humans unrestricted access to maintenance systems. Because as this story brilliantly illustrates, sometimes the most dangerous threat in the room isn't the guy holding a weapon, it's the one holding a wrench, noticing all the small problems, and just waiting. So, what small, unnoticed vulnerabilities are currently hiding in the foundations of the systems you rely on every single day? Think about that next time you see a quiet worker, just smiling in the background. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. I'll catch you next time.